Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Music Den. I'm your host Armando Venditti. Hoping you guys are having a good day, and above all else, that you're indeed looking after yourselves and one another. Today, ladies and gentlemen, we are back with another episode of Attack of the Killer B-Sides. And joining me on this episode, I have a brand new addition to hopefully a brand new addition to the channel, Mr. Sagosh Varadajan. Did I say that correctly? Your last name?
Fair, close
Okay,
enough.
my apologies.
No
My
problem.
apologies. Sugosh has graciously decided uh, to come on the channel, and he has picked an album which he feels that the B side of this album is a killer, in fact, a killer B side. Sorry. The artist is Al Stewart, and the album is his release from 1973, Past, Present, and Future. So I'm going to pass the mic over to Sugosh, and he's going to discuss as to why he feels that this is a killer B-side. So, Sugosh, tell us more about the album that you want to talk about.
Right. So, Past, Present, and Future is Al Stewart's fifth album.
Oh,
It came
fifth album.
out in October 1973 in the UK
Yeah.
on CBS
Hmm.
and 1974 in the US on Janus Records. And it marks a departure from Al's previous work because, by and large, right from his debut in 1967 through to the last four albums that he made before this one, Uh, Al Stewart was primarily a very classic singer-songwriter, so to say, very much in the Bob Dylan mold. A lot of
Yeah.
story songs, character sketches, a few personal anecdotes, uh, lacking perhaps in the acerbic wit and the occasional willful obscurity that Dylan indulges in. But yeah, fundamentally in the same space.
Yeah.
So past, present, and future is where he developed a new template and one that would carry on for the rest of his career. So this is the album, the first album where he brought in, along with his, singer-songwriter folk rock uh, tone, what he brought in was also history, as the album title suggests. So
Hmm.
past, present is all about history and the history of the 20th century, basically. The idea, according to Al, was to have each song represent a decade of the 20th century, and he's done it fairly close. So there's a couple of songs related to 20s and 30s. There's a song dedicated to U.S. President Warren Harding, who was, of course, ruling in the 20s, and
Okay.
then the song about Hitler's Night of the Long Knives, 1934. And
Mhm.
there's a song called World War II Blues, which neatly covers the historical highlights of the 50s and 60s in one song. And that's most of that is on side A. And side B is where we get into the business end of things, with which I'll talk about later. Just to give you a brief about uh, the album as such, as we already said, it came out in 1973. Uh, the band that Al was using at this time was pretty much the same and carried over from his last album, Orange, 1972. So he had Tim Renwick on the electric guitars, who was part of a long and successful collaboration with Al Stewart till 1978, I think.
Mhm.
Uh, and he was part of a lot of his successful albums, including the most famous one, Year of the Cat, 1976.
Yeah.
On bass, we had surprisingly early pre-Attractions incarnation of Bruce Thomas. And on the drums, there's Willie Wilson, who has also played with David Gilmour. And
Mhm.
on piano and keyboards, we have Rick Wakeman.
Okay. Okay.
So yeah, but has always had a few very high-profile session people play for him. In fact, on his second album, he had Jimmy Page as well as half of Fairport Convention playing along with him.
Yeah, and just I do believe I read that he had Roger Taylor from Queen provide percussion on Past, Present, and Future on this album that you're talking about.
Perhaps I'm not too sure about that. The main drummer is credited as Willie Wilson.
Yeah, yeah,
There may be inputs from other drummers.
yeah. Okay. Yeah, interesting.
Just
Interesting. Yeah.
the producer again was the same as his previous album, John Anthony, who's kept it pretty straightforward. There's not too much of real studio trickery going on here.
Hmm.
It's pretty straightforward, folk rock, guitar oriented. There's a little bit of strings and choirs and things in a couple of songs, but mostly he keeps it simple.
Yeah,
Now,
yeah, yeah. Just so people know, John Anthony also worked as producer on the first Queen album, and he also worked with Genesis, I believe, on Nursery Crime, 1971. So yeah, 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 okay,
that's good to know. Yeah.
yeah, okay, that's good. Okay, so yeah, no, tell us more about side B of.
So, as I already told you about side A, there are a few songs that talk mainly about the early part of the 20th century. Side B is what I call the business end because there's only three tracks here, which neatly also maps onto the past, present, and future theme of the album. And the two of them are like absolutely epic, 8+ minutes, and very atmospheric, very thematic. It starts off with a song called Roads to Moscow, which basically gives you all the action of the German invasion of Russia during World War II. And it is absolutely cinematic. I mean, the way it opens up, there's a little prelude with acoustic guitar and Spanish guitar played by Isaac Guillory, or is it Guillory? I'm not sure how you pronounce his name.
Okay, yeah,
He's done throughout the song. He keeps on providing these little acoustic improvisations along with the verse, which really enhances the mood.
mm,
And as soon as the song really gets into the flow, we're dumped right in the middle of the action with the Russians in deep trouble. Their air force has already been knocked out by the Luftwaffe. They're like being pursued by the Germans. There's a lot of action going on, and verse by verse, the entire story of the war just unfolds. It's superbly done, superbly executed, and there's so much of can hear the passion for the history and the love for his subject that comes through when Al is singing. So it starts off there, and then in the next verse, they're being chased out through the Ukraine, pushed back towards Moscow. Bit by bit by bit, the Germans are gaining ground. And then eventually, it reaches a point where the Russian winter is too hard for them to handle. They're pushed back, and the
yeah,
tables turn. So at this point, there's this real dramatic turn of the music. There's a bit of choir comes in, and there's some sharp bass notes from Bruce Thomas that really, put the atmosphere in there. It's a nice change from the verse section.
okay, okay. Very
And
dramatic,
after,
very cinematic. Yeah,
and
yeah,
after that, we take the action back to the Russians, where the Russians are pushing back and heading towards Berlin instead. So, the tables have turned. The Germans are on the run, and the
hmm,
Russians are at the gates of Berlin with nobody left to defend, just old men and children there who can't put up much of a fight at all.
hmm,
They capture Berlin, and the war is over.
yeah,
At this point, there's a real dramatic and tragic twist to the song. We're heading towards the end, and this that choir section comes in again, and Alice playing the part of a Russian soldier who's like tired and weary of having been carrying his gun for 4 years and just wants to get back home. He's excited, the war is over. And
hmm,
then as he's on his way home, he gets picked up by the Russian forces and questioned about the time when he was taken prisoner by the Germans for a brief period. And
okay,
apparently, that is for them to raise suspicions about his loyalty, and they send him off to the Gulag. So it's like in the last couple of lines, he's so excited, the war is over, I'm going home. And then this happens. It's just a off the cuff answer. Oh, I was just taken prisoner for a day. But that is enough for them. They pounce and he's off to the Gulag. And
hmm,
that's what happens. Like the steely Russian skies go on forever. That's how it ends. The song.
Okay. Very dramatic. Yeah. Oh.
Very, very dramatic. It's even more so when you actually listen to it. And like I said, the acoustic guitar is superb throughout. The entire verse, you're not sure whether to catch all the details in the lyrics that Al is singing or to listen to the beautiful solos from Isaac on the Spanish guitar. It's just amazing.
Hmm.
So that
Okay.
really sets for side B, and that's basically the past section of it.
Yep.
Then we move on to terminalize, which may not directly reference the present, but seeing as I couldn't find any specific explicit history involved in the song, I take it to mean it's set in the present time and talking about the present day.
Hmm.
It's a very Dylan-esque song, actually. There's a lot of one note, one chord, uh, kind of staccato lyrics being spewed out at seemingly in a stream of consciousness fashion. It's very subterranean homesick blues, that
Okay.
that uh, feel,
I get it. Yeah.
but a little more polished, a little less bluesy, and with some great bass work from Bruce Thomas and some lovely strings. At the same time, the song also has this undercurrent of darkness and foreboding. It's like he is in the present, but he's seems a little unsure of the future.
Hmm.
So especially into the chorus, there's this very dark sort of string section that comes in, and the chorus itself is like terminal eyes on the lonely Arabian skies, which could mean anything really. I mean, at that time, I presume Arabian skies lent themselves to a lot of tension in the 70s. So
Yeah.
it
I
could
can
be some kind
imagine.
of warning message. I'm not really sure, but it keeps the atmosphere going,
Hmm.
basically.
Hmm.
It's a very
Yeah.
good song.
Yeah.
And with the
Yeah.
present done, we enter what is like the closing epic, which talks about the future. And who better to talk about the future than somebody who was celebrated 500 years ago for supposedly predicting the future? A man called Michel de Notre Dame, popularly known as Nostradamus.
Nostradamus. Okay. Yes.
I guess Al may have latched on to this because Nostradamus was very much the flavor of the month at the time, with 1972 being the year they released the movie The Man Who Saw Tomorrow. And he may have taken some ideas from there. But
Okay.
yes, it fits in perfectly with the theme of the album. And it's a great way to look at the future, to wonder what it might hold. And in this song, again, it's an epic. It's 9+ minutes. And there's a lot of great acoustic guitar flourishes. There's a bit of psychedelic modal music involved. A lot of great acoustic guitar interludes in between the verses, and fabulous bass work from Bruce Thomas as usual. So it
Mhm.
starts off setting the tone. In the east, the wind is blowing. It's like setting, a scene,
Mood,
the
atmosphere. Yeah.
atmosphere. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Slowly comes to the point. Oh, the more things change, the more they remain the same, which kind of ties into how people have perceived Nostradamus, because there is, a lot of his prophecies have basically been debunked by scholars. And there is a feeling that he just looked at what was going on in the past and extrapolated based on that, which is kind of a way of saying the more things change, the more they stay the same.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I see
So,
what you're saying.
very sort of clever inclusion, because even if you don't believe in his prophecies, you've got to admit that there is a case for history repeating itself.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah. If
that's
you,
where, yeah, good.
no, I was just going to say, basically, if you do not learn from the mistakes of the past, you're doomed to repeat them, you know.
Absolutely.
So that's, yeah, I get that 100%. I understand that. Yeah.
And then when the verses come in, he sort of launches into the predictions that Nostradamus had made. Now, I have not read the actual prophecies. I don't know if he sticks very strictly to what Nostradamus had actually said, but he makes some predictions basically about the big historical events of the time, of
Hmm.
the last few centuries, basically. And he talks about the plague in London and about the rise of Napoleon and the rise of Hitler, obviously.
Yeah,
These are the big themes that are taken care of in the first verse. And then he brings in the chorus, which is a beautiful way of expressing man's inability to really understand any of it, past, present, future. He says, "Man, man, your time is sand, your waves are leaves upon the sea. I am the eyes of Nostradamus, all your ways are known to me." It's,
okay,
no, in a way, he's sort of aggrandizing himself. At the same time, he's also saying, man really has no idea. He's just, looping through this world without really understanding anything about time and about our place in it.
exactly, exactly. Okay.
So in the
And
second verse, after this, he goes into some parts about the future, things that have not yet happened till the 1970s. And there is an interesting prediction which talks about a wall that breaks down between two cities, which is basically like the Berlin Wall. And I'm not sure if Nostradamus actually predicted it, but it's interesting that this came about in 1973 and a good 15, 16 years before the wall actually came down.
that's right. That's right. Yeah. Very true. Very true. Okay. Very
So,
interesting.
and then there's a lot of this, like I said, psychedelic guitar interludes in between. And then finally, he just says, "These are the signs I bring to you to show you when the time is nigh."
Okay.
So, a sort of grandiose statement from somebody who considers himself a prophet, I suppose. I mean, you can't be a prophet unless you're a prophet of doom, right?
Well, yeah. That's but yeah, pretty much. Pretty much.
It makes you
No,
unless you predict the end.
sorry, I didn't hear you.
Nobody takes you seriously as a prophet unless you can predict the end.
Well, no, it's true. It's true. It's true. No, the album I've not heard I've heard of the album. I've not listened to the album. The music that you're describing sounds again very epic, very dramatic, very
Very.
thematic. Yeah. Yeah.
In fact, he took it one step further with the live version of Nostradamus that you can find on the 1981 release, Indian Summer Live at the Roxy. So there, in between the interludes of Nostradamus, he includes a song that has not appeared anywhere else in his on his records. It's a song called "The World Goes to Riyadh," and I'm not sure where it actually fits in here because really Nostradamus did not predict anything directly to do with the Arabic lands.
Okay.
So, but when you listen to it musically, it blends so perfectly with the rest of Nostradamus that it enhances the feeling when you're listening to the live version. I really recommend listening to that as a sort of companion piece to the album.
Okay.
At least that particular song, it really gives a different feel.
Hmm.
So yeah, that
Okay.
I consider circular B-side album because the A side is good. It does what it's supposed to do. But the B side is like the business end of things, the epic tracks, the cinema, the drama, and the whole summation of the theme of the album is what really gives it that extra push.
Hmm. Okay. No, I see. I've heard of the album. I've never listened to it. I will after this conversation. I definitely will listen to it. There
Nice.
is, I should say too, to everybody out there, I don't know if you know this, Sugosh, but there is a 50 disc box set of Al
Mhm.
Stewart's catalog
Okay.
that's available on Amazon for $732.
Jeez.
So uh, if you have the
That,
money and you can afford it, please do. Please do.
I'm
Uh,
sure
I
what they would provide box set really, because as albums have been available for a long time as individual discs, and many of them have been reissued
yeah.
with a few bonus tracks and stuff as well. So
Yeah, I have the
yeah, box set. I don't know if they're really providing something additional,
I don't
but
know.
15. Sounds pretty much like his career, right? I don't think he's done too many more than that.
No, I'm not sure, but when I saw it was like 50 discs and it was
Oh,
700,
50 is a lot.
550.
50, yeah.
Yeah, but when I
So
saw it, it was for
traditional mix.
$732, I thought,
Wow.
no, this is
I mean,
not, no,
not
I'm not.
about the, I wonder who would even buy 50 disc box set of one artist. That's a bit much, even for the
Yeah,
most
yeah,
dedicated fan.
yeah. And I do believe that you can get the reissued CDs on Esoteric Recordings, who do Esoteric Recordings do a fabulous job on the packaging of the reissues with artwork and liner notes and booklets, etc. So, but yeah, no, that's great. Um again, I've not listened to the album Past, Present, and Future, but after your description, I will listen to it today. I definitely will listen to it. Um,
Nice.
so, all right, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. Another episode of Attack of the Killer B-Sides. Uh, please, if you know of this album, of this B-side, please tell us in the comments below, down there, uh, what you feel about this B-side of this B-side. Did Sagosh get it right? Do we know what we're talking about? Or did we miss something? Like, is there something that we didn't, that Sagosh didn't mention that we should know? Um,
Always something.
yeah. So, well, I mean, again, ladies and gentlemen, I've always said on this channel, we're not experts in music. Well, from the way Sagosh talks, maybe he is a little bit more of an expert, but we're just bringing you albums that we feel that are interesting and that you should listen to and check out. And again, if you know this album and you've listened to it, please let us know in the comments what you feel about this album. And you know, I've always said um, music is, for me, it's about discovery and just discovering something new and possibly wonderful to listen to and enjoy. you know. And you can listen to these albums that we talk about on this channel. On YouTube, you can stream them on YouTube, for free. So again, I want to thank Sagosh for joining me on this episode, and he might be back for more. If you'd like to
Love.
come back. You know. And again, please look after yourselves and one another. Please do click subscribe and hit the notification bell to keep yourselves on top of any new content we've got coming up. So again, please look after yourselves and one another, and we'll see you soon on Music Den. Okay? Bye for now.